Amigos, amigas, welcome to another edition of the Mexican Soccer Show. I'm Wiso from FootMex Nation. This is an hour-long podcast dedicated to all things Mexican football, and we're going to just jump right in. We're already a few minutes late with some technical difficulties, and we're going to go with the big question of the night. Overall thoughts on Caixinha's press conference earlier today. For those of you that don't know, Caixinha has been in the hot seat. Cruz Azul hasn't been doing rather well like it was last season, and he had quite the press conference today. Fake news, fake media, fake news, and almost like a Trump presser in that sense. But Cesar in the San Diego, Tijuana area, how's it going, man? Tell me what's going on with Caixinha.
It was really weird, man. It was really, really weird. Like he brought this this fake news study. I guess it was some people took photos of it. So it was a survey, basically of just how often were people exposed to fake news in the last week, not like in the entire year, but just in the last week. I guess according to the survey. I mean, I don't know what survey is. How many people do they ask? Do they ask 10 Mexicans? Do they ask 4? But according to that survey, 43% of Mexicans say they're exposed to fake news last week. But I mean, it's a survey. So many variables here. The kind of people who respond to surveys, I don't know. I don't know why I'm diving into the validity of the survey itself. But it was just weird, man. It was just a very weird situation because it's in reference to the rumors of him leaving Cruz Azul. So he brought that out, essentially saying, don't believe the rumors. I'm still sticking around. I'm going to see out my contract. But it's definitely an odd situation. If I remember, I don't know if it was just a dumb Twitter rumor. I don't know if it's true or not. But apparently there's some people were saying that maybe some of his bosses may not have been happy with that little stunt he pulled. So if I was the boss, I wouldn't like it either. But I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely kind of rather weird because when Caixinha back in Santos, if you remember, he's always been the type of person that says, if I'm not happy, I'm out.
Yeah.
you know, this is it. And I believe he's kind of sending a message to the organization, because this organization just kind of saying, I'm here till 2020, because that's what he said in the press conference.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like, if you want to kick me out, you're going to have to pay me my contract, which you have to break the contract. So I think, he's definitely in a hot position right now. I think the teams haven't scored, more than 2 goals in the last 13 games. They're in the 14th place. You're starting to see some of the players not showing up, although, they keep saying that they're behind the coach and all of that. But I believe it's him kind of saying that, bringing up a fake study of that's just kind of weird for fake news. Not fake, but at the same time, it's I think, if you take Turkey out or something like that, it was
Mexico's the second highest, apparently.
Second highest fake. And it was that over last week? I thought it was last year.
I think I saw there's some people who somehow took photos of it. I'm pretty sure it said last week, but it's still a really weird thing just to make the efforts, print that out. And just once again, if I was any of his bosses, I would not be happy with that little stunt that he pulled. I think it's a really weird thing to kind of do. And it's also not a very good look for Caixinha. I mean, maybe if this was the only controversial thing he's done in the last few weeks, maybe it would be kind of not that big of a deal. But after the comments regarding the women's team, what was it? Was that now 2 weeks ago now? I guess it was 2 weeks ago. It just does not put him in a good light. It really does not put him in a good light. And I feel like a lot of people were really liking the guy when he was carrying Cruz Azul, helping carry Cruz Azul to the final last season. So it's just not a good time for Cruz Azul, not a good time for Caixinha. So yeah, just a very, very strange morning there. Did not expect to be talking about Caixinha, talking about a fake news survey / study.
You really want to dissect what's going on, and it's got to be more than just, the players. It's got to be, Caixinha. And one of the things that, he said on the press conference is that, when they went to Lisboa to go get him, right? The organization in Cruz Azul was saying, okay, look, this is what we want to do. These are the plans. And this is where we want, as far as the team. And, he was all on board. And he referenced that, but Pelaez wasn't in that picture.
Yeah.
So now that we're starting to see, I believe some of the internal, kind of the policies and more of the, the games that are played in there, I think this is where now I think the pressure is pressure. And in the last game, it was, I think he was said, in one of the press conferences right before, it was ganar o ganar.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm actually, kind of, if Cruz Azul would have lost, would we be talking about Caixinhas being out? It was it tied the game, but he said it's they needed to win. So I think if now coming at home in the next game and they lose, we might be able to see maybe. I'm hoping for that record of, I think, 9 coaches being fired in one season. With back in 2006, I think we're at 6. Caixinha would be 7. So I want to see how the craze of the LigaMX.
Yeah.
Joining us, Adriana, who had to reset her own computer right at the beginning because her video wasn't working. We were talking about the Caixinha's weird press conference. We talked a little bit about fake news. Adriana, what's going on? You heard me a little bit about at least the state of Cruz Azul and also Caixinha. I think one of the things that I said is that I think he's saying, hey, if you want to kick me out, you got to pay me a lot of money because I'm staying.
I think he's just shown his cards. I mean, he just wants to get out of there. It's just so clear because it's the same coach that was all about the process and just gave us like a PowerPoint presentation. This is how the team's going to work out. And then all of a sudden we're seeing a report on fake news from June of last year. Yeah, so that was wrong, by the way.
It was from June. Okay, because I didn't know, because I tried. I remember there was like someone who took a picture, and I thought it said from a research from like last week, but it was from like a study from like last June where the survey just like a week's worth of like surveys just from like last June.
Yeah, it was like from last June, and it's not actually a survey. It's more like a prediction of what they think is going to happen.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that was just wrong all over. But yeah, it's just so different to think of Caixinha like he was so optimistic at first, and he just had no problem showing the press exactly how he's going to play, how he has 2 players per position, what every practice is about, and then all of a sudden we have fake news going on, and this is just like Paco Gemes when he said that the press was like it was like a vomit-like press. So I don't know what is it with Cruz Azul coaches once they're desperate to get out of there, but yeah, definitely Caixinha is not going to make it through the rest of the season.
What's not fake news is 12,000 people at the Azteca. I think that was barely 6,000, 5,000 people in a Copa MX. It's not fake news is a failure at the Copa MX. His striker hasn't scored. What's his name?
Milton Caraglio.
Yeah, Caraglio hasn't scored. Yeah, I mean, it's like
just about anybody.
Anybody, that's
except Luis Hernandez. He's safe.
That's not fake news. I believe Billy Alvarez and Peláez. I don't think they get along. I mean, it's starting to come in, and we'll see where it's at. But what a difference from last season when we're looking at Cruz Azul being the best team, the super leader, and yeah, they lose to America, and we would have thought that this season again they would come back. It's like León and Cruz Azul just kind of switched it.
Switched over.
Yeah, and we could see obviously some of those problems last week in that draw with Veracruz. I mean, Veracruz had the lead for most of the match, and the goal that Cruz Azul got, it was an own goal from Veracruz. Like things could have gone downhill pretty quickly for them. And like you mentioned, Wiesel, I mean, if that own goal didn't go through, I mean, would Caixinha still search? I mean, really, but you don't know. You really don't know. And I know that you can't count any team out of the playoff picture just yet. I know we're essentially at the halfway point this season. We're essentially crossed that halfway point in the regular season after this weekend. But I mean, nine points in 8 games. That's not a good look. That's not a good look at all for a team that got some new players like Jonathan Rodriguez over the winter. I still feel like he's had a couple good games. I still expect more from him, but it seems like they're still trying to figure out the midfield. So there's a lot of clear and obvious issues with Cruz Azul. They could still make it to the playoffs, but it's just they're so far and away from the team that they were last season.
For me, Cruz Azul. So really quick, I've been moving houses, and
I thought we lost you there.
Funny. No, I've been moving houses, so this is going to be the new Mexican Sock Show studios. It's kind of this mocha colored wall now. I used to have this white, so it's a little more spacious. It was kind of like
you can hear a slight echo because there's not a bunch of like a bunch of your stuff up on the wall.
Yeah,
The two
yeah.
jerseys.
So sorry. Right now, there's usually. Well, I'll start putting more on the. But I did find something, and I got in this new house, and it's heat, there's a reason why I'm telling you all this because it's kind of quite funny. We're freezing. I'm freezing in this house because I needed to get the gas turned on, and it's part of our heat, and so it's been really cold here in Phoenix. I mean, it's like at freezing. We got snow like 20 minutes away from here. I did find, however, my dad gave me this giant Cruz Azul.
Oh dear.
Cruz Azul like blanket, because back in my dad lived in Pachuca for a long time, so they're in the 80s. And he gave me this blanket maybe like 10, 15 years ago, and I found it, and it kept me warm in the last 2 nights. So thank you, Cruz Azul, for making this awesome blanket. I mean, it's huge. You know those giant, it usually have like a tiger on it, and then sit over there for swap meets.
Lisa, you just cursed yourself, man. You just cursed yourself.
That's what I'm just gonna continue. How did I curse myself?
Because you got the Cruz Azul. You got the Cruz
Dude,
Azul.
I've had this in my garage for like in a box for a very long time.
That's true.
I can see why.
So, you know what's funny is that one day I was waiting for Cruz Azul to win a title, and I swear it's been like since the Mexican soccer show to bust this out and like put it in the back and be like, but of course Cruz Azul never wins. So anyway, back to that. I'm sure the comments are going funny. So yeah. All right, the blanket to the Cruz Azul winter. Joel. All right, guys. Well, we have a great show for you guys. I'll read the responses in one bit, but LigaMX, we're gonna just kind of jump right in with LigaMX. It's almost halfway this season, and let's talk about at least some results. Let's talk about where you guys are at, kind of like a mid-season. If we could top maybe the top 3 teams that you think. Again, we always have this predictions of who do you think right now is the best teams or who's going to make it, but it all doesn't matter until last. So tell me, you guys, top 3 teams. Hopefully, they're not the top 3 that are in right now. Maybe we can switch them around. But to you guys, where are we at?
I think unfortunately it is those top 3.
Is it?
Yeah, I was thinking Tigres, Monterrey, León.
Okay, all right, then that's pretty good.
Yeah, because I mean, you look at those other teams. Like I'm looking at the league table. Like I still have a lot of questions over Santos. Still have a lot of questions with Chivas, with Pachuca, and then once you go even further past that, I definitely have plenty of questions over Xolos and America and Necaxa. Maybe America and Necaxa. No, not even Necaxa, because I think Necaxa are still. They're doing better than I expect them to, and I wouldn't be surprised if they end up not qualifying for the playoffs, just because I feel like they're really weak in a lot of spots in the roster. But America still has a game in hand, so maybe they can make a little late resurgence there. But I think it's just Tigres, Monterrey, and León. I mean, León just keeping pace, with some of the new players that they have, like Angel Mena and Macias. But I mean, it's just you got to go with Tigres, Monterrey, and León. I think those are the 3 clear favorites right now.
Yeah, I think Monterrey and Tigres, this has been like the story for the last 5 years. I'm hoping Monterrey actually gets to the final. I actually want to see them win sometime soon. León has been quite a surprise with Macias doing something that we just hoped would happen with Chivas and just never did, and Angel Mena doing things that we hoped he did with Cruz Azul and didn't happen either. And yeah, Necaxa has been quite a surprise. I mean, it's usually one of those teams that it's like halfway through the table and not doing too much. But Brian Fernandez, I really don't expect him to be in Necaxa next season. I think he's one of those players that someone else is going to catch like during the summer. He's doing really great, amazing goals. He's just, I think he's actually not the top goal scorer, but just pretty close to, I think it's Angel Mena or Guignac. So yeah, quite exciting to see other teams try to take away some light of America or Cruz Azul or Pumas. But I'd like those 4 teams to make it through the Liguilla. That would be just a change in things we've seen recently.
I like the fact that also I feel like in comparison to like Monterrey and Tigres, I like the fact that León are up there because there's certain things about León where it just feels like they're stuck in like 1990 or like 1995 or like they don't have a working website.
The stadium,
or it's just like. Or even just I mean, once again, referencing that chat I had with Landon Donovan late last year, but he was he's like they have a small front office of 15, 20 people. They don't have a sales team, and they're just and it's just kind of funny. It feels like in a lot of ways they're just the complete opposite of a Monterrey and Tigres, where Monterrey and Tigres are a little bit more lavish, I think when it comes to especially the rosters, but even someone like Monterrey, I mean, you see that nice giant new stadium they have and what they're really pushing for there. But it's just like I kind of like the fact that Leon are just are keeping up with them and just they have 17 points so far. I think. Let me look at the league tables. It's pretty impressive, but yeah. And especially since they were supposed to struggle after Boselli left, and then Sambuesa had that injury last month too. So it's really impressive to see what Leon has done.
Leon is always the type of team that once you think that they're like gonna do bad, they score 5 goals. Once you think they're gonna do really well, they get scored on 5 goals. So it's kind of the same way that after that Boselli, after Elias Hernandez, it was just kind of like, oh gosh, and then if you have anybody from the winning teams, one with the bicampeonato, you have Chapito Montes, you Gallito Vasquez, you had Gulit Peña, you had Rafa Marquez, and you have Boselli up there. I mean, that straight line of great players. And slowly they started going around. And right when Boselli, the drama that happened over the last season, and then these 2 guys come in, Ecuatoriano, and then Mena Macias, and then Nacho Ambriz. And like all of a sudden everything just kind of clicks, and you're starting to see these players, that same Leon that's attacking, and then Nacho Ambriz again. Someone when I said when they came in, I was like, oh gosh. I mean, what has he done? But Leon finds these coaches out of Southern. I mean, and they, but at the same time, I'm just kind of keeping quiet because I could just see the second half of the season. All of a sudden, Leon just kind of struggles in that. So I'm happy as a Leon fan, and it's exciting football they're doing. Even with the red card in the last game, coming in, I think, the 500 minutes without a goal. I mean, even in the defense. So good for Leon. We'll see what I think they're due to come up at least into top 4, maybe get to a semifinals. It'd be great if they're playing, but I'm not holding my breath because I've been let down before. And again, actually, when they won it, they're barely coming in the 8th place when they won the championship in the first time. So
yeah,
so it's not like you've never had even when Leon was doing really great, they find a way. But we'll see how that goes. Another topic I want to talk about, LigaMX. It's not in our rundown. I apologize, but I was kind of going over all the coaches, because 2 weeks ago we were talking about Toluca and Cristante. I was kind of like, no, I mean, what Toluca has done in the last years, being a contender, and one really bad season, even if they go bad, are you serious? Are you really going to take away Cristante now after this weekend, which is now the 6th coach? And then we start seeing the regurgitation of coaches, right?
Yeah, so that suck. I'm so eager to see new coaches, and they're just not doing too well. I mean, you had Rafa Puente being sacked. I mean, Palencia is like getting through. You had, what was this Necaxa coach? He was sacked also last season after being in Ascenso. Leaño.
You just start losing track, to be honest. I've already lost track of like who's already been fired this season.
Yeah,
like 6.
But the thing is, they go back to like the old coach. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Sergio Bueno arrives at Monarcas.
It's interesting because it looks like the success measure for a failing club right now is changing coaches. Because if you think about after letting go of some of the coaches in the early season, all those teams that let the coaches go are doing they're doing better. So, I mean, they're not doing as bad, right? You would think that they would be, kind of, okay, well, the players, but it kind of does give them a little lift on how we'll see how Toluca does this weekend with El Interino. But Pachuca, for example, Puebla, Chelis hasn't lost a game.
That's Chelis magic.
Yeah.
Who else has let go?
Oh, I mean, he's only been in charge for 1 match, but Vucetich, we're talking about
Vucetich
coming back. It's only been 1 game.
Tell me managers come back that's had a bad loss. That's what I'm saying. Like,
I'm sure there's some right now. We can't think of one, but yeah, I'm sure there's got to be some out there. But yeah, and also sometimes like that, some of that success is, it's just the luck of the draw. It's a LigaMX. Sometimes to qualify for those 6th, 7th, 8th place in the playoffs, like you just need a little bit of luck to push you through. It's in these short seasons, so yeah, maybe that's what kind of helps perpetuate some of these like this constant flux of just the recycled LigaMX managers, is because sometimes, I don't know, if you come in halfway through a season, you get like 3 or 4 wins that could push you into the playoffs, pretty easily if you're already a mid-table team or if you're not even like too far down the table. But yeah, no, it is interesting to note. But yeah, it's gonna be fascinating to see what other coach comes back, because it could be Chepo de la Torre. Maybe Chepo de la Torre is gonna come back. I mean, once again, we saw Vucetich come back for Querétaro, Morelia. I mean, let's not forget Morelia. They also fired their manager. It's not just Cristante. Morelia fired Hernandez. That was yesterday, right? Yeah, that was yesterday that they fired him. So a lot of coaching changes going on.
So we got Profe Cruz, Chepo de la Torre, and La Volpe. It's those three are going to go somewhere in those. It's the regurgitation will start. I'm hearing De La Torre will go to Toluca.
Or La Volpe.
Yeah.
I think De La Torre. I think Chepo's going to go to Toluca.
I think it's Chepo. Yeah, I think so. But still, it's kind of like a bummer to just see the same names come back over. I mean, it's not that I dislike them. I just wish that we had like a larger pool and like newer like coaches, and I don't know, like more like Bruno Marioni, who really didn't do much at Venados, but was still given a chance. So I wish we had more of that young talent with the coaches, and just not the same old coaches again and again and again.
If we get to 9 and Maradona doesn't make the jump like to coach a LigaMX team, I mean,
I was looking at the table. It's kind of difficult to see any other coaches go, because they're doing rather well, I guess. I mean, I don't see Hoyos leaving Atlas despite kind of losing his like initial performance. Obviously, Tuca's going to be eternal. Veracruz won't sack anybody because no one will want that job anyway. I mean, Querétaro just did that. America, Lobos, I think Valencia is doing quite well with the squad he has. I think they're like 3 points away from securing they're not going to be relegated next season. I mean, there's not much else that could go on. I don't think Pareja's leaving Tijuana either, despite having a really slow start. So, yeah.
Caixinha is the only one.
Caixinha would be the only one, I think.
Agreed.
So, maybe that record will have to wait.
Yeah.
Which is kind of odd, because I have the theory that usually the semester where they face relegation, I think there's more changes, or that's what I think happens, because they get more desperate and they want points and stuff like that.
I mean, there are already plenty of changes already to begin with, so
you never know.
Interesting enough, LigaMX, in the middle of the break, the Monterrey team, León, it's like America is still doing what America does, and then comes in strong. I would still put America as a favorite if I continue just closing the tournaments, and we'll see where that goes, guys. Any other big news coming out of LigaMX?
Yeah, we gotta.
Maybe I'd say Gignac. He's 2 goals away from Tomás Boy's record. That's going to be quite an accomplishment.
200 goals.
Just 2 goals. He reached 100, and he's just 2 away. So he might get them this weekend. They face Pachuca, if I'm not mistaken. So that'll be nice. I'd like to see that. I'd like to see like a historic player just get that record. Seeing it, Boselli left like 2 goals away as well, right? From
Yeah, and it's kind of cool to see, especially in the time that it's taken Boselli. I mean, Gignac to get there too. So we kind of always see Gignac, especially maybe in the last few seasons, kind of not had in the first seasons that he had, but obviously the Liguilla. And I think totally different Gignac now. We'll see that. I think that's why also Tigres is definitely up there and doing well.
Yeah.
But
I think we got to bring up Nico Castillo too. He got those 2 goals for America, and I was definitely on Twitter, when I saw that that clear opportunity that Nico had in that game against Lobos Buap. He basically had an open net. I was even telling my girlfriend, I was like, dude, I would have made that. I was showing her the game. I was like, I would have made that too. Which is a complete lie. But we all know I would have missed it. I would have if I did hit it, would have hit me in the face or something. I don't know. But I was. Yeah, exactly. but I was definitely criticizing him, and I feel like a lot of people were definitely criticizing him online. But then he scores twice, for Club America. He looks like one of the key figures for them. And I'm glad for him as well, because there's so much pressure on him right now. There was so much pressure on him going into that match too, and going into the Clásico before that one. So I'm glad that he was able to get a couple of those goals right there. And but yeah, it was just interesting just to see the complete change and just the perception of Nico Castillo from just basically the guy who had the miss of the season to the guy who basically was one of the arguably the man of the match right there for America. I thought Jorge Sanchez also had a really good game too for America, but yeah, no, it's such a crucial figure right there with his 2 goals for America, that 3-0 win over Lobos Club.
Yeah, Nico returns. Nico does well. I mean, we were known that player is the caliber that he has, so it's good to see him finally score. And we have those times when you feel like you're about to make the goal, and then you totally Adolfo Bautista hit, or who else? Landin back in the Olympics.
Oh, Santiago Fernandez.
Fernandez. I just keep thinking of that miss. I don't know why. For me, when it comes to like epic misses, there's one Saga did one time in Mexico. Perfect to head it in, but I think it was Bofo, 2007 World Gold Cup against the United States in Chicago. It was all he had to do was just like barely get in there, but
push it. Yeah, everyone that's more difficult than it seems.
Yeah, everyone has that. We'll see that. All right, so let's switch over. Continue with LigaMX, but giving it a Concachampions kind of feel. This week again, I'm excited for the Concachampions. Usually, I'm like these like
the Concachampions.
There it is. Nice. It's usually like around these first times I kind of go, well, you got to get people out of the way. But it's kind of fun seeing now. I feel if we look at ratings, and I don't know why, but I see a lot more people being hype about it because obviously MLS and the teams, regardless of what anybody say, I think they're doing better and they're due for a win on one of these tournaments. It could be this one, especially what Atlanta did and teams like that. But interesting enough, especially after the very first leg, and we have the second leg. I think everyone kind of, everyone's looking at Tigres and Saprissa. This would be monumental, if Tuca, because I think that's one of the last things that Tuca needs to do, is try to get to the Club World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And going in there to the Monstro in Saprissa, the Purple Dinosaurs. This is not really translated into English, but. What do you guys take? I mean, obviously, Monumental, I think we'll see Tigres bounce back. We'll, then el Volcán be good. But even also, as far as Concachampions, how are you guys feeling about this, the start of it continuing this week, where we're seeing where Mexico's MLS teams maybe struggle a bit on the first leg, and now starting the second leg. So I'll go with you, Mr. Cesar.
I like it. I want some more CCL madness, because what happens is if it's easy for the LigaMX teams and they go through, and if they surpass the MLS teams, then it just feels like Copa MX. And I feel like honestly,
it's totally true.
That's what happens, because you'll be like, oh wow, semifinal matchup between Monterrey and Toluca, and on the other side you have Tigres, and you're like, dude, I don't care. I don't honestly like that. That's just me. Even though it would be a semifinal,
and then Chivas wins.
but honestly, I don't care. So I like the excitement. It is not only just MLS teams doing well, but the other like Central American teams. I want them to do well. I was really glad to see some of those good results too. And honestly, we do have this mentality, and I'm not just saying that from LigaMX fans, but probably MLS fans too, where they look at those teams like Independiente or like I don't, even to an extent like Saprissa, and we're like we don't know much about them, and it'll be all right. Like the LigaMX team, MLS team's going to get the win. So I like the fact that they're at least making things a little interesting. I know I'm saying that after Santos Laguna got a 6-2 away win, and it's quite the advantage to have 6 away goals going into the second leg. But some of the teams are making it interesting. Like Saprissa has that 1-0 lead over Tigres. Alianza, they got that 0-0 draw in the first leg, and I know it's MLS versus LigaMX, but it was good to see Sporting Kansas City get that 3-0 win over Toluca too. So I don't know. I like it. I embrace it. I want more CCL madness. I like it.
We'll see. It's always difficult regardless. I mean, people talk about the travel, but going into different stadiums, especially different countries, I think what game was someone watching? It was an MLS team against Herediano. Who played against Herediano?
Atlanta United?
It was at Atlanta, yeah. And I was listening. I was on Twitter, and it was an artificial field, and they were saying how like the ball was bouncing, and the Costa Rican players already knew that it was going to bounce weird. Like they passed it, it bounced, and Costa Ricans went to exactly where the bounce was going to be. And you look at that. I mean, not only is it travel, it's the food, it's the accommodation, but then the field, and when you go, it's tough playing against in those conditions.
Rough turf. Yeah.
We've seen that with Mexico going in. It took how many years to win in Honduras, or it's been a very long time since Mexico's won in Costa Rica, or the U.S. has never won in
Canada.
Costa Rica. hey, Canada. It's true. Goal by Chucky Lozano there. And I think when you're looking at the overall, right, when Libertadores and Concacaf should join together and do, teams kind of, that type of league, imagine that travel, Vancouver to Argentina, right? And then, or
they can do it.
So it's kind of funny how we kind of take for granted, and we'll see on this return. Like, what do you guys expect? Anybody, any of the teams that tied or lost?
Not gonna make it through.
Not gonna make it through. Like, or is there a Mexican team, LigaMX team? I'm looking. Monterrey, Toluca.
I mean, Toluca are done.
Yeah, Toluca. Yeah,
Toluca.
Yeah.
Toluca. Yeah.
Toluca's done.
Somehow Toluca managed to lose 3 games in a row for with a difference of 3 or more goals.
Oh my gosh, that's
so,
right. That 4-3.
So it just makes you think about what the players were thinking at that moment. I don't know. We have that theory over here in the Mexican press. When you just see those kind of things happen, you're like, nah, so the players are up to something.
Yeah.
Toluca's president, I remember at the beginning of the season, he was just so proud. And he said, this is the largest investment we've ever done for the club. And then you have 3 games in a row, 3-0, 4-0, 3-0. I mean, that's just too much of a coincidence. But I agree with Cesar. I'd like to see more competition, especially because last week, there was the sports summit going on, and several of the club presidents were talking about having this Continental Cup. So if they show that they can have a really competitive tournament with all the other CONCACAF teams, I think it would be even a lot more easier. Just to get other clubs on board, and CONMEBOL kind of think of, this might not be such a far-fetched idea. We could just get this going. It might be easier just to think of forget about the distances and think that it's actually going to be beneficial to have a really amazing continental tournament.
Yeah. Again, the logistics would be kind of crazy.
I'm all for it. I like it.
Yeah,
Why
I like
not?
it. Yeah.
You forget it. I like it. Forget it.
I don't have to do that, Shovel. Let them do it. I'll be watching at home.
Yeah.
They get paid more than me.
They'll figure it out somehow.
All right. Well, interesting enough.
They can meet halfway and have most of the tournament be here in Mexico. That would be pretty cool.
There you go.
Yeah,
but I do think really quickly. I think Santos are through. I think Monterrey, even though it was 0-0 drawn at first. I'm very, very confident that they're going to get a win in that second leg and go through. Toluca, I think, are done.
Yeah.
They're definitely done. But Tigres Saprissa, that's the interesting one for me.
But
because
Tigres, a Tigres home game, that's the 12th player right there. That's so tough to beat. I can just imagine Universitario, and just if it's difficult for LigaMX teams that go there at least once a year.
Yeah.
Imagine being there.
Let's say if someone has an off night, it gets to the 70th minute. It's like the Tico team, Saprissa. They just park it. And it gets kind of crazy. So it's interesting to see.
Guignac's not playing. That could be something in favor of Saprissa.
Yeah, when Gignac wasn't there in the first leg, I mean, it's not like, I don't know, maybe I don't know if this is a good or bad thing, but Tigres had a lot of opportunities. I was watching the game in the background, I was doing some other work, but I feel like I saw missed opportunity after missed opportunity that I didn't capitalize on. So I don't know, something was a little off about them in the last game, and I do wonder if that's going to continue in the second leg. Tigres are 100% the favorites, and my guess, if I had to make a bet, I'm going to say, 3 LigaMX teams going through. It's Tigres, Monterrey, and Santos, and then Toluca's going out. But I still wouldn't be that surprised if it's only 2 LigaMX teams. I wouldn't be shocked if it's only Monterrey and Santos. I wouldn't be that shocked.
I really want to see Tigres at the Club World Cup.
Yeah, I think so too. It's
just go do it.
It's about time.
It's about time. Kind of glad. Great for Chivas to win the tournament, but it was the worst time for them to win that tournament. It was just bad.
I know. I don't get excited about the Club World Cup either.
It'd be fun. Imagine Tigres out there, right?
You want to see the best, the most competitive LigaMX team.
Tigres
Tigres.
Yeah, Tigres with a great team. All the players. Tuca going forward. Maybe even LigaMX, he's helping them out if they're not in the final, or they don't even make it to the final, and they all start this little mini camp.
That's okay. They've won enough.
Then it's here you go, and they're really ready for it. By the way, anybody know where the Club World Cup is going to be?
I don't know. That's the world's Copa MX for me. It's just like, oh, cool side tournament. I guess I'll watch some stuff.
That's like a Federations Cup would be like.
Wouldn't it be like 6 months away from Tuca retiring? Because he retires in 2020, doesn't he? In June, I think.
That guy's not retiring.
Maybe.
So,
yeah.
I think it is. So that would be like 6 months away from him retiring. That would be pretty cool to finally get them to that World Club. What?
It's his last.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah.
There's an article right there. Headline: Tuco's last chance.
Now or never.
Now or never. I've already seen. I swear, if I see ESPN, Adriana, credit Weasel on the title on that.
I will.
On the Mexican Talk Show. All right. Fun. Yeah, the Concachampions, don't miss it. Televised where, guys? I usually stream in like fake streams. So does anybody know where normally?
Univision Deportes.
Is it on the Univision Deportes? Because I don't get that. Because
you don't get Deportes? I watched most of it. I watch most of the crazy thing is like sometimes I don't know what channel it is because I'll just like stream it on my like phone or my laptop. So it's just like I was like, I don't know if this is actually on TV or if this, because sometimes I'll put it on like Galevisión 2 or like Unimas, like they'll like push it to the side.
I don't have cable, so it's the Univision and then Univision's side channel. But sometimes they share any Univision's Deportes when he's on Deportes. But
my guess it's a Deportes thing because I don't know, sometimes the Univision like they don't. I don't know, they only have like a couple of like LigaMX things. I know because my dad had what was like he had like Dish Network or something like that, and he was like really angry that like they had some sort of fight with Univision and they don't have Univision Deportes, and he's like, I can't watch anything. He couldn't like watch like so many LigaMX matches. But
and it's like across the screen, please call Dish or whatever. And you're like, like they're gonna listen to me. Like, can you please put it on? I can't watch. I don't understand. Please call your provider. Anyways.
Probably Deportes.
I used to always just watch, all the games, and then Amy took away my privileges to use her password and her login. So I gotta look for streams again. So
I wonder if she's gonna tweet that out right now.
She probably will. She probably saw it right now. She's just like, Anyways, all right. Let's talk about El Tri Femenil in the Cyprus Cup. That Adriana, I know it's exciting news that we're actually gonna be able to see it on TV.
I know, 5 a.m.
Yeah.
What is this? The Club World Cup? Oh my god!
It's like the 2002 World Cup.
Those are good.
Yeah, but still exciting. I mean, I hope it's just one of those things. You're not sure if you want to stay up for it or fall asleep and wake up for it. But anyway,
at 5, no, you gotta wake up early. That's quite staying up.
I have so much trouble waking up early that it's just a lot more. It's way easier just to stay up. But yeah, it starts on Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken, and Mexico's going to face Italy first, and then they go against Hungary, and then they go against Thailand. This is Christopher Cuellar's first tournament with the senior squad. Most of the players are there. Charlyn Corrales there, Kelly Robles, the players from Iceland. Several players from LigaMX, so many other clubs are actually playing without them this week. So yeah, it's going to be interesting because they just might make it to the Pan American Games in the summer, depending on whether U.S. and Canada forfeit that tournament, since we're going to be playing the World Cup a couple of weeks before. So hopefully it'll be. We'll see.
Can at least be an interesting. At least year for Mexico because of the Pan American Games, and then this cup also is. I mean, obviously they're not going to be in the World Cup, and that's why they have the full team. Is this something that at least Mexico's putting a lot of attention to because they're not going to the World Cup? And it's like, all right, let's get something going. Everybody's looking at you. The TV is they're gonna have the games. We're all behind them. Is that kind of the last effort to at least continue to support the feminine, aside from what's happening in LigaMX?
I hope it is, but truth be told, I mean, they switched coaches and they didn't tell anybody. They didn't ask for a press conference or anything. So I think the federation isn't doing their best effort right now.
But yeah, it is permanent.
Yeah, he's permanent. Yep.
So it was kind of like, you think they couldn't find anybody? Was he always going to be permanent? Because from what you were saying before, it was kind of like he was the interim. They didn't, and he was kind of like, okay, I was just told, and now it's kind of like, forget it, we're not going to look for somebody?
Yeah, at first, the thing was, he actually just appeared in the call-up. He would his picture was there, and there was no actual text saying, by the way, this is our new coach. So then I think it was just like a last-minute decision when they actually found out that they had this tournament, that they had a call-up in January, and that's when they actually made the announcement that Roberto Medina wasn't going to continue with the team. So I think it just shows that there's lots of disparity regarding how the men's team is managed and how the women's teams are as well, because it just shows that there was no preparation. I mean, you took 6 months to get Martino, and you couldn't even take like a week to say, hey, what's going to go on with the women's team? What are we going to do to avoid missing another World Cup? We could still make it through the next year's Olympics. That would be amazing. Pan American Games, we might actually get as a result of what I said about the U.S. and Canada. So, I mean, at least try to make the best out of it. And yeah, you have to start thinking about all that generational change as well. You've got many players that could make it through the next World Cup, but you also have to start thinking about all those U17 and U20 players that are getting minutes in the LigaMX, and you want to see that actually have a result with the national team, because that was what the league was created for.
Yeah, and Olympic qualifying, that's got to be at the end of this year, right? Because I feel like I haven't seen anything.
October. Yeah, I think October.
Okay, because I feel like I haven't seen anything regarding Olympic for men or women actually. I don't know if at least in the Concacaf region, I haven't seen anything regarding that.
Yeah, it's odd because you've got the men's for the Pan American Games as well. You've got the U20 World Cup coming up as well.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, we'll have Diego Lainez and probably Macias as well. So I don't know. It's weird because usually so many teams are practicing at Dakar, at the Centro de Alto Rendimientos in south of Mexico City. I mean, you have the U15 team right now. I think they have the U17 team as well, who's practicing there right now. So there's lots of activity, but sometimes, I don't know, I think the tournaments, we just find out about them like a couple of weeks before. But yeah, hopefully the women's team will get a little more attention, specifically, like especially by the federation. I mean, I think they have to set the example. Lots of teams, I mean, they make the sacrifice of letting go their best players like halfway through the season. They're actually halfway through the season right now in LigaMX Femenil as well. So I'm just hoping that we see a lot of change regarding those players that could actually start making it through to the senior squad, and hopefully build up a better generation for the next qualifiers for the World Cup.
Yeah.
Look for the competition, the qualifications. I can't find anything on there.
Yeah, I tried. At like January, it was like, woo, all right, 2019. It was like January 3rd. It was like, all right, I should actually look into the Olympics, like qualifying, and see what that is. But I couldn't find anything. So it was like January 3rd or 4th. I tried looking up Olympic qualifying like dates or something like that. But I feel like I couldn't find anything. Maybe, hopefully, we'll find something soon.
2020 Concacaf Olympic qualifying to be determined.
Oh, okay, cool. Okay. I guess.
So we'll see. It'll be interesting. So I mean, we have the summer schedule, right? Summer games, the Gold Cup. Obviously, the Women's World Cup is going on, the Panamericanos, and then
July 7th, people. That's a crazy day. You have all three finals on the same day: the Women's World Cup, Copa America, and Copa Oro, same day.
That's crazy.
That's just crazy as hell.
Should have been better scheduling right there.
Yeah, I know. I think even I think it's Argentina's games are kind of the same days that Mexico plays in the Gold Cup.
Oh, really?
So yeah, it's poor planning.
But once again, the Cyprus Cup, it'll be. I mean, once again, you do hope, you do kind of like wish that Mexico would have been at the World Cup, and that this would have been some sort of like, I don't know, like a little bit of a warm up for them. But this is still a good opportunity for them. I mean, you look at some of the rankings for some of those women's sides, like you can't take that match against like Italy for granted. Like that's definitely a good match for them. I think I even saw like Thailand. Apparently, Thailand's team is somewhat decent, so that'll be a good test for Mexico. But if I remember correctly, there's no knockout round. It's just however you finish in your group, then you may immediately immediately qualify for like a first place match, or third place match, or a fifth place, or seventh, right? If I remember correctly.
Yeah, it's exactly. And then afterwards, I think in April they're facing the Netherlands, and they're facing the PSV women's team. And they're also playing the U.S. I think in May, which is one of the last games for the U.S. Before they leave for the World Cup.
In New Jersey, right?
So something that we learned from the U.S. Team, because the federation again hasn't let us know about this. I mean, they just said about the team against the Netherlands because Netherlands made it public, and you're like, dude, why are we finding out about our games with the rival teams and not us? But yeah, that happens. There's another game somewhere I think that's been rumored as well. But yeah, U.S., PSV, and Netherlands so far.
Awesome. Yeah, Mexico gonna make the Women's World Cup. I mean, it's really slipped to be in France and going in there and go to my first Women's World Cup, and because the Gold Cup and all that probably won't happen now. At least I had an excuse because Mexico was there, so I'm gonna have to wait till the next Women's World Cup to be there. But I was really looking forward to it. Really quick before we switch, Adriana, I just want to ask you. So Charlene Corral, I know there was rumors because of the Cuellar family and all the drama that's there. You think that's kind of already been because her going and they're going to be playing in Cuellar? Do you think that's kind of been extinguished?
I think she's going to give them a chance because it was really odd when the first call up came through in January. She said she was sick, but the day afterwards she was captain against Barcelona. So I'm not sure what to think about it. I was just thinking, yeah, she's gonna do the same thing. But I mean, it was gonna be really difficult for her to complain, seeing as though they had just changed Christopher Cuellar to take over the senior team. So I'm pretty sure the federation would have been like, no way, no how, we're gonna change coaches again just because of one player, despite that player being Charly Corral.
Yeah.
So I think it seems as though she's going to give them a chance and just see how things go because she is with the team right now. She traveled with Kenty Robles and they arrived today, Cyprus. Okay. So let's see how that goes.
All right. Well, we'll see where it's at. I want to take some time really quick. The Our Football podcast, Amy and Adriana later on this week. Great thing about the podcast, guys, is that they not only recap, obviously, everything that's happened in women's football, but they also do a great job recapping the week. So all those late games, especially the Concachampions, they go through it. And since we don't get to talk about Monday, they also do some previews for LigaMX. So if you want more Mexican football, Our Football podcast, which usually is on Friday, they do a great job. Continue to support, obviously, the women's game and the ladies here on a podcast. That being said, one other thing, I know there's been a lot of you guys that have been asking for the iTunes version of the Mexican Soccer Show. It's been now around 4 weeks, almost a month, over a month, where we haven't posted our episode. Usually by Tuesday, it's up. We are having problems with our hosting site, which is iVox. When we set up a long time ago, I think this is back in like 2012, 2013, we set it up. Somehow all of a sudden in the last month, our login isn't working. So when we try to log in to update that, that's what's happening. So we apologize. We're trying to work on it. But how you can help us is that it's just a login problem. Just imagine if you're like, your Facebook or your Twitter login, all of a sudden it's not working. You just go and you ask Twitter, hey, it's not working. You can get the same password. But for some reason, we can't get a hold of iVox. So I think we're going to tweet at the end of this, maybe tonight. If everyone can just retweet it and comment so they can see that we're trying to get a hold of iVox so we can get that, the Mexican Soccer Show on iTunes, that'd be great. So I'm going to retweet it. Cesar, everyone's going to retweet it. Please,
should we use a hashtag? Unlock the Mexican Soccer Show.
Yeah, unlock something. We'll think of something. But if you guys can help us out and maybe comment, "Oh, iVox, you're horrible for doing this," we really try to tweet it out. Hey, and there's no way to get them. It's a site. I think it's in Europe and it's in Spanish. But that's how we kind of got it up, and we're kind of lost because we can't get the login, and we want to get up there. So please help us out, right? So just retweet, maybe comment on there, use a hashtag, say, "Hey, we need them back on." And who knows? Maybe they're able to answer us. Lastly, on our last segment that we have, Mexicans Abroad. I used to have a running tally of scores in the Mexicans Abroad, and I can't find my little tally. Like every weekend I used to put who scored because I one time had, all right, I think it was like 11 weeks in a row. We had a Mexican scoring, and then I kept track again to see if we break that record, and hopefully. And I got to look at, I had a little libreta, and I used to mark them all, and now that's gone. So, but this weekend, we had quite, I think it was a Jimenez, Chicharito.
Yeah, we had 5. Herrera. We had 5. If you want to bring in Briseño there.
Yeah. So that's 5, and I think that might be the record. So I got to look at, and going back to see Mexicans Abroad scoring in one weekend. It gets my. Let's talk about it. I know we sometimes we mention. Chucky again, with what a goal, especially what's been happening with Chucky. I know you guys talked about it last week, but him coming back Cesar, you obviously watch a lot of the Mexicans Abroad. You write about it. Is there still something going on with some players or him be thinking he's too much for the club after scoring? Maybe he didn't go and celebrate with the team. What's going on with that drama?
Yeah, so just a little quick recap there. So not the most recent game, but the previous match before that, Chucky was brought off during halftime. It was during a 2-2 draw against Heerenveen. It was human being. Surprise, surprise. I don't know if you guys know this, I'm not Dutch. So when he was brought off during halftime, it kind of caught everyone off guard. And then Mark Van Bommel, the manager for PSV, afterwards said that it was a tactical decision and that Chucky wasn't really doing what was being asked of him. So
he did have a bad game. Like, I was watching. It was pretty bad.
and then it looked like a lot of like the Dutch press started to like criticize him for the way that he played in that game. A lot of Dutch press were essentially thinking, all right, does this guy kind of think that he's past PSV? Does this guy kind of think that he's no longer, I don't know, have his heart and like mind focused on our team anymore? So of course there's a little bit more attention in the last week's game, because not only was it against Feyenoord, who are currently in third place, but also they're wondering what's going to happen with Chucky. Was he going to get brought off at halftime again? Is this actually a case where he just feels like he's too big for the team? But he not only played for the full 90 minutes, but he got that golazo there. I mean, it was like, it was Zlatan-esque, to be honest, the way that he kind of like.
He reminded me a little bit about Blanco's 98 goal, 2002.
Yeah.
Okay, just a little bit. Just a little how he like jumped up and hit it on the side like that. It was kind of cool. And
yeah. So I think that was I don't know. I was pretty happy to see that, because I wouldn't have been that surprised to see like, oh, maybe there would just be some more off the field issues. Maybe that's when you start to see off the field issues come up. Maybe that's when Chucky says something to the press. Maybe that's when the manager says something else to the press. So I think the fact that he played for the full 90 minutes and clearly was doing probably a lot more than what was asked for him in the last match, it was good to see him kind of bounce back. And hopefully there are no longer any underlying issues, but maybe those issues, and maybe we're reading into it a little too much. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes at PSV, and maybe we are looking into it a little too much. But maybe that one comment from Van Bommel and the
message got through.
Yeah, maybe something happened right there. But either way, good to see Chucky bounce back and get his 14th goal of the season. 14th goal of the season, at least in the Eredivisie.
Chucky's got 14. Raul Jimenez 10. We're looking at that. I think he's like in the top 5 of scoring. I thought I saw some statistic out there. I got to look at it again. But doing great, Raul Jimenez, with a amazing penal that he scored over the weekend. Hector Herrera, Captain Hector, a nice little tap in, but continuing to do well.
3 goals in 3 games, right, for Herrera.
Herrera. I think, if we're looking at the 2 players that we wanted to see step up, especially this season, I know obviously Chucky's doing well for the Mexican national team, is Herrera, where we've kind of seen before the season, before the World Cup, where he's kind of just been doing there. I mean, if I can think of back in 2015 in the Champions League Herrera, that's the Herrera that we're seeing now again. So interesting enough, we'll see what happens.
And then we had Chicharito with the Thierry Henry handball goal right there.
It took me a while for me to check to see, because I'm like, all those angles, I'm like, where did I see the hand? I do not see that hand.
I could see it a little bit. I don't know. It looks like a handball.
It goes back to my screens.
I mean, he scored.
Did he hit it and then hand, right?
Yeah.
Like he actually hits it with his head first. Yeah. Right. Okay. Because somebody was like his full hands, and I'm like, I see him hitting the ball. Well, I don't know. I've seen Chicharito score with all parts of his body. Like, I'm like
yeah, the hand was missing. That's why.
Okay, good.
Yeah, but obviously, but a good weekend nonetheless to see those 5 Mexicans in Europe scoring. I think I like posted a tweet and someone's like, "Oh, dude, you forgot to bring up blah 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 blah, who plays in like Spain's second." I'm like, "Oh, come on, man! Like, I don't think we're gonna be bringing that up. Some guy who plays in like the lower leagues. Maybe we should. I don't know. I already feel like we're getting obscure enough to talk about Briseño
Paleta Esqueda is in India or something like that. I think there's another team in India. Ulises Davila, I think was.
Yeah, there was like a couple.
Yeah.
Oh no, wait. But didn't Davila leave? Because I don't know. I got or something.
Well, also Pedro, I'd say he's back in Greece. I thought he was still like hanging out like in the reserves or like Club America or like in the back, but he's back in Greece. But anyhow, we're getting a little obscure. But also one more thing for the Mexicans, Brad. I want to bring up Araujo. I thought Araujo had another good game for Celta Vigo. They had a 0-0 away draw, and I mean, you look at some of those stats. I saw some of those highlights. I mean, he was once again very, very solid defensively. They had like 13 clearances for Celta Vigo. So I've been continuing to be impressed by him. I guess the issue is that Celta Vigo are flirting with relegation. So we'll have to see what happens by the end of the season. Hopefully he doesn't get relegated with Celta Vigo. But it looks like I think from like the mid-table to like the relegated positions, it's a very, very tight race right now in La Liga. So hopefully Celta Vigo can survive that. But at least for now, I mean, Araujo's doing quite well. He's finding the back of the net. I mean, he didn't score over the weekend, but he's definitely had a few games where he scored.
And Casquera scored, by the way, as well.
There we go.
Ulises Davila is at Delhi Dynamos.
Oh, wow.
Oh, dude, that's a cool logo.
That's a pretty cool. I know. I was looking at it. I was like, dang, that's a pretty cool logo right there. So
that's awesome.
Casquera is at Quest East Bengal FC.
See, yeah, I was like, I think they both went. Thank you, Mr. Steve Graff, who he always gives me the obscure players that are playing somewhere. So, Steve, I know you listen to this. He's a great writer for FootMX Nation. He always gives me an update of a random player in some random league, and that's how I knew about Ulises Davila. That's there. But it's kind of funny you mentioned that it's like, third division of the Ukraine league. I'm like, well, in that case, like I'm playing on Thursdays, like, my little indoor league. I'm a Mexican abroad. So maybe I can make that list. We'll see what's going on. All right.
Someone asked for really quickly. I think our good friend Ivan from the Eagle Eye Pod, I think it was him. He mentioned that we don't talk about Ochoa enough. I think if I remember correctly, I'm looking at this the scores here. I think Ochoa and Standard Liège lost 2-1 on last Friday. I don't know how. I haven't been keeping nearly as close of an eye on Ochoa as I have been with some of the other Mexicans abroad.
Okay.
But I think from the last game, it looks like look at some stats. He had 6 saves in that last match. So Ochoa having to put in some work right there for Standard Liège now, and they're now knocked out of the Europa League, so that makes it a little bit difficult. But they just have to finish in the top half of like the Belgian standings, and then they qualify. I don't know. I'm not going to dive into what happens once you qualify for the top half of the Belgian standings. Then I
can't find those streams. Like every time I'm like, okay, Ochoa's going to play, and I look at it. So you know what, Yuan? Here's your chance. Your Eagle Eye podcast, if you don't know it, guys, go. They're going to talk about Ochoa in the first block of their next podcast. So we're putting you on the spot so you can talk about it, Ivan, on your podcast at the Eagle Eye podcast, which you guys got to tell you guys, I love your graphics, especially when you guys post it on there. So if you don't know Eagle Eye podcast, all your Águilas, feminine, and they do a great job with feminine and the men's league.
And Águilas abroad, apparently.
Yeah, and Águilas abroad. All right, there it is. Ivan saying, okay, we'll do. So there you go. There you go. You can talk about Ochoa on the first block in the Eagle Eye podcast, our friends here at the Mexican Soccer Show. And we'll do that. All right. Again, thank you very much to Cesar, Adriana for today's show. Tom is traveling, even though I'm like, wait a second, the Mexico game's not for another 2 weeks.
He was here in San Diego getting drinks with me last Thursday. Traveling.
Okay. I'm traveling.
Traveling for work. Come on. Actually, I think he is doing a little work, but I think he like went
just
to like
a little.
Just a little bit. He went to like a friend's wedding or something.
Nice.
We were basically getting drinks and just yelling at each other about like how terrible like Luiso and Adriana and like Amy are. We're just like, oh, those people are the worst. They're the complete worst.
It should be fun. Thank you again to Amy putting obviously all together all our topics and putting all this together. Does the production for the Mexican Soccer Show. She's been tweeting. She's been on the chat. So one thing I want to definitely put when we were talking about Esqueda, we were talking about Landin and the misses. Rodolfo, both Bautista. She did say I've suffered misses for far too many times this season. So I know she plays during the week, and we did have a discussion how she tells me I did another Landin today. So you tell her, Amy, we've all been there. So she also plays there in LA. All right, guys. Thank you again. We'll continue. Please retweet that. Whatever we tweet to iVox. We'll continue to have the Mexican Soccer Show. Don't forget about the Our Football podcast at the end of the week. And I want to wish you guys a great week. We'll see what happens. We'll be talking about another fracaso for Tuca in the Concachampions, or is this kind of going away? We'll see if maybe Caixinha is already fired if he loses for next weekend, and continue to see if the Monterrey teams and León stay in the top 3, which should be exciting times here in the mid this season. So. Cesar, once again, thank you very much. They're from Tijuana, and Adriana there in La Ciudad de Mexico. We'll see you guys again next Monday on another edition of the Mexican Soccer Show. Hasta la próxima.